Hey, we're live.
We're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the security team meeting. It's the first one in September, I think. And I see a lot of participation today. Carlos, is your first time, I think?
Yes, it's my first one.
Okay, maybe you want to introduce yourself so everybody.
Okay, cool. So I'm Carlos. I'm currently working at Nearform, and I am trying to contribute to the permission model. I had already one of the permission model roadmaps features landed, and I'm trying to go on with the next one.
Great. So, any announcement before we start with the agenda?
No other than I hope to see anybody who's at the OpenJS World next week or the Collaborator Summit before. I hope to see you there.
Yes. Me and Rafael will be there for sure.
I will be there too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Cool stuff.
Good stuff.
All right. Maybe I will share my screen.
Yeah, I will. There is one thing maybe for the announcement. Well, not a super announcement, but yeah, we drop support for node.js 16 this week. So yeah, if anyone is still using 16, it's a good moment to move to at least 18 or try 20.
Yeah, that's great. So, okay. Yeah, Michael, will you write you take your notes?
Yeah, I'll take notes as we go along. Sure.
All right. So, first thing of the agenda, vulnerability review. Any announcement? Any new infos on that? Usually,
there are a few issues in there, like I think the number 153, which is asking about a CVE in NPM. And we did get a comment from Luke that they do think that it would affect the NPM clients. There was an update to Sun4, which should be backported to 18. So I don't know that that's happened yet, but anyway, that one's one. There was a question about 16, but I think with 16 UL, we're probably past the point where that'll happen. I think that's the main new discussion that's been going on in there.
So I will link the issue in the chat. So if anybody wants to join the discussion, this one. All right. So I think that's it for vulnerability review. We can move on to the next point, OpenSSF scorecard monitor review.
Yeah, there are not a lot of news. Because if you remember the last time we have some issues with one of the with the node.js.org repository in terms of getting the data back in the visualizer. We open an issue for that. Seems like the API changed the payload if it's made by the cron job or made by the GitHub action. So that's something that we haven't cleared before. So we need to make a tweak for that on the visualizer. Aside of that, there are not a lot of changes in terms of the repositories, taking account that the issue where you can see that is like for the full month, not just for the last 2 weeks. But yeah, all of that is minor changes. There are some changes on the website that I think is like something like 0.5 dots or something. But when we have the new fix, we can just review properly because they are not comparing exactly the same thing. So it's a little bit tricky. And yeah, there is a new feature ongoing. Let me share the screen because we want to collect some feedback from you. So we have a pull request. I think you are seeing like a pull request, right? Yeah, that's the right screen. So yeah, there's a pull request ongoing for the visualizer where we introduce this differentiator kind of thing component. So you can see more visually the changes. That's going to be more useful, I think, when we have token permissions or the big changes, because before that you have to compare to drop downs kind of thing. So now will be something like when you see the differences in GitHub or something like that. But yeah, we want to have some feedback for this, because there are some modes that we can use to visualize this, like by line or by letter or by block of letters. So if you can provide us some feedback, as you are going to be mostly the key users here, and also Thomas, so that will be fantastic if you can provide us feedback here. So I will pass the push request in the notes for the meeting also.
Yeah, no issue. I use it a lot recently, so I'm going to check.
Fantastic.
That's great. So this is for the new diff feature in the scorecard visualizer, right?
Yep. Yeah.
All right. And also the errors, I think it's the like the last 2 points are we can basically match them probably. Yep. Okay. So this is for the OpenSSF scorecard monitor review. We can see the new report updated.
Yep.
Maybe you want to share the screen, Ulysses?
Oh yeah, I can share
report?
it. Yeah, let me open it. Yeah, so we have the pull request and we have the issue as well. So yeah, let me show you. It's desktop 1, I think. Yeah. So yeah, basically we have here the pull request with all the changes. So you can see the current scoring if you go to the report markdown and you visualize it. You can see here like the difference one by one. And if you go to the view file, you can see like the full report, including the deltas and the views and so on. The only one that is tricky to visualize is the node.js org one until we do the fixing. But aside of that is here, and you have a much simpler summary here, which is the first issue on the list. This one, so you have here only the ones that have changes, have changed in the last month, basically, not in the last 2 weeks. So we can see here, the only one that has a big difference is the Node.js help, but that's okay because it's not a software repository as far as I know. So we can even ignore it if it's become annoying to see it, a lot of changes from that one. But yeah.
Yeah, because I think there are just discussions on the help repository.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I
it
can
might
ignore
make
it
sense to figure out categories of ones where we think it makes sense to apply the scorecard or not to apply it, just as like general guidance to help other people. Because some things I can see it being good, other things it's going to be a lot of work to. And like if it's like this, when we say it doesn't matter, then it might be good to say like, hey, these kinds of repos where you just have issues for discussion, don't ship anything, then doesn't really apply.
Yeah. There is a feature plan on the monitoring tool to include the option for categories, so you can categorize something like that. So at the end of the summary, you will have something like name of your category versus other or the rest or something like that. So you can have even like the ones that we are relevant or the ones that and the rest. So it's going to be easier. But yeah, not plan, I think, for this release, but maybe for the next one. So I will. But yeah, it's part of the roadmap.
One example I'll throw in there just for people to think about related to like the scorecards and everything. The Node API team turned it on for Node add-on API, which is like the library we actually ship. It was also turned on for Node add-on examples. The challenge is Node add-on examples has like, I don't know, 50 examples, each with their own package JSON file. And so the number of individual updates is just crazy, right? Like, I don't know if we're going to be able to keep that one on. So there's some things like that that are like for a samples repo, does it make sense? At least with the current tools, it's quite the challenge, right? Like if the tools are smart enough to say, you're using this version of a component 20 times. If there was one PR that updated all those, it would make it a lot easier. But today it's one that I'm like, I just can't keep up so far. So.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, also I'm not very sure how the support works. I didn't try it yet for mono repos or repos that have like multiple packages, but like with a tool for managing those or just, with a folder. So yeah, I don't know how smart is the API that we use for that. So but we can figure it out. So
Yeah.
and see if that makes sense or we need to do something individually. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess also the fact that if a project ships something, it's probably important to have it on, otherwise not. Like to define some criteria on which project we want to have it or
Right.
which project we don't need it. So I think that's a good thing to do since we have a lot of projects.
Yep.
So maybe could open an issue on that and
yeah. Feel free to open an issue. This should be like flexible enough. There is like this scope JSON here kind of thing. So this have some flag right now that is scanning the organization. So if you add a new repository, it will automatically appear here in the next run. And if there are differences, you see the deltas. So basically we can, the same as we have included, we can just exclude. So that's another way to do it. So you see here more or less which are the ones that are, so we can just maybe easily move some of them to exclude. For example, TSC one probably is just documentation or they are on that direction, so we can just move them easily. Or archive ones also. There is a problem also that Thomas reported that the API is not filtering if the repository is archived or not. Obviously, there are not going to be changes in the deltas if it is very old. But yeah, it's still to be a little bit tricky because the GitHub API that I use to take the repositories only allow me to filter by public, private, or archive, but not both criteria together. So that's a little bit tricky. Yeah.
Okay. So this one was for the OpenSSF scorecard report updated. I approved the PR. I think we can merge it.
Yep.
And it's merged. All right. Next point on the agenda, we have audit build process for dependencies. We just had a meeting, me, Michael, and Ashish, when we try to brainstorm and see like what kind of things we want to check about the dependencies build. And so we're basically probably right under the issue that we have in the security working group that I will share right now in the chat. We will update it, and we found some criteria that we could work on. For example, to check if a dependency is installed with npm, if it's downloaded from a release on GitHub, or it's downloaded from somewhere else, like Chromium source, for example, and check if we build it locally on the dependency update machine, or we just take the source code. Like this kind of question to understand what kind of dependencies we bring in, and then find a way to try to improve the whole process and make it repeatable. So this is the whole point of this initiative. Yeah, so we will write under the issue. If somebody wants to join the discussion and help with it, you're welcome. So anything else on this?
Not very sure if it's super related, but do we want to, there has been some discussion also regarding licenses for npm recently. So makes sense to, I think as we have these scripts to manage the update, maybe makes sense to have a script for checking dependencies, checking licenses of some of the dependencies, or at least the ones that we believe that can change a little bit.
Yeah, I guess this is something that we want to do in the dependency update process, because if the project changes its license, then we don't want to bring it in, or maybe we want to flag the fact that the license has changed, or maybe like integrate some kind of checks during dependency update. So probably this is a point that we want to discuss in that, because we are owners of basically the dependency update files in which we do the check. So this is something that we might want to add to the agenda.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea to have the update scripts run some sort of license check. And like they might still generate a patch, but it should have a big like new license added, because we need to add to the node license if there's a new license.
Yes.
So it could throw up a thing, it had the PR, if it had a big thing, and I don't know how you make it red, but like the equivalent that says new license, then somebody would actually have to like add a commit to the PR to say like, here's the change to the node license. Do we agree we can accept that license? And yeah, that's
yes.
yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
Also,
that's a great
some
idea.
kind of automation would be great to have, like when a license is changed, you add like the little flag that calls, I don't know, TSC or whoever, because obviously if you touch license, you want someone to know
some
about
good
it.
app mentions and stuff. Yeah, no, that would be good.
All right, so this is definitely a point. We can open an issue on this one. I don't know, Ulysses, if there is a discussion going already.
Yeah, I can open a discussion. Yeah, if you want, I can share what we have. I think yes, as an idea. So yeah, this was this issue from Matteo regarding the downgrade. So one of the things here is like I created this little check SSH. So basically it's using, I think it's license checker. I actually have a fork of the license checker that will potentially become a GitHub action soon. So maybe we can use it. And yeah, basically the idea is just to install the dependencies that are in production. And basically then later on you have like a full license document. So you can use it later on for documentation and so on. And you can just group it. I was using some grep basic thing. And then I manually check against the OC licenses or not. So but yeah, we can automate definitely some of these processes and say something like, look, this is the new kind of licenses that is not OSI or something, because as soon as it's OSI approval or Fedora approval or, it's a kind of a list that we are okay, I think that's fine, because that's not going to be an issue for us.
Well, I think we still need, like, we have a license file that includes all the licenses. So I think we have to so even if it's one that's on the OSI list, we probably need to put it into that file. So I think having like in each of those update scripts, it calls, check like this that says, I think putting all the information that says like, if it's on the OSI list or not, yes. But I think it still require like the collaborators to say, yeah, okay, we've added it to the file. It's one that is acceptable and whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I also think there is some bureaucracy involved with the OpenJS Foundation about licensing.
Yep.
So I think
if it's not on this list, then that's where it sort of comes into play. But I think even if it is on the list, like I haven't looked recently, but we have our big long license file that says like, blah, blah, blah is licensed by blah and blah. So it may be like, hey, we've got a new dependency. It's on ISC. We may have to add it to a list somewhere. Although I think that's one where maybe we don't, but like some of them I think are called out specifically. So it would almost be good to like have I think like you were saying, Ulysses, has anything changed? Right. And changed could include, this is a new dependency that's been added, right? In which case it should be like, oh, here's effectively a new license because it's a license on something new, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's a super good point.
All right, I think we can move to the next point, which is initiative for CI best practices for Node.js projects. Any updates on this one?
Yeah, not a lot of updates from my side. I was a little bit stuck with the release. So yeah, I think currently we are more or less in the same situation as last week. So I still need to consolidate some of the answers from the silver and documentation together in the gold one. So it's going to be easier for review. There was a technical issue with the silver upgrade reported by Rod. So let's see if that kind of sort out so we can modify it and finally submit the last version. And when that's done, we can merge the pull request. So basically, yeah, the current situation is I need to work a little bit on the goal level and we can continue provide feedback after that. So let's see if I have bandwidth this week. But yeah, I will drop a message on Slack when that's ready. So it's easier for us to catch up.
All right, great. Moving on, we have a permission model roadmap. Maybe Carlos, you have some update on this part since Rafael is not joining us today.
And I don't have much update. We figured out a way to do the part of the, let me say, of a login permission, logging when a permission is denied in the sync version, not the async one. So we are probably going to replicate in C++ the part of the diagnostics channels to be able to launch that directly from the C++ side. And then it should be easy from there, but I'm still figuring out how to do so because I haven't done a lot of C++ lately, and I'm just getting up to date with V8 and all that.
All right. Moving on, we have automate security release process. I don't think anybody has updates on this one.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, so I guess we can move on to the last one, assessments against best practices.
Not much. Since
Yep.
Okay,
I
so
think, yeah, I think regarding assessment best practices, nothing outside of the goal pull request. Yeah, nothing else. I think ongoing on that.
right, so no updates for this week. So anything else we want to talk about? Questions, announcements? All right, so I guess that's it for today, and we will meet each other in 2 weeks.
Thanks. And
Bye,
thanks
everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for chairing the meeting. So
Hi
see everybody
everyone.
later.
Thanks. Bye.
Everybody.
Bye-bye.